All right, welcome back everybody to Gamble Smart, Gamble Safe. My name is Mark, and today we're going to talk about Class 2 gaming or bingo slots. You may have heard of that before. The reason we're going to talk about this is because Dave and I, as well as my wife, and even Diane, who was part of our first interview on the channel, are going to be going up to WinStar very soon. And about half of WinStar is Class 2 machines, where the other half is Class 3. So we're going to start with the basics. I'm going to walk you through some examples here so you can see what is actually going on. Now, Class 2 is different from Class 3 in the sense of how the machine actually operates, okay? So a Class 2 machine is usually tied to something like the game of bingo, historic horse racing, something other than a self-contained computer inside of the machine that is generating random numbers, okay? So try to think of a Class 2 machine as not a slot machine, but a machine that is appearing to look like a slot machine and act like it. Same sounds, same reels, things like that. But what you're actually doing is playing the game of bingo with other people inside of the facility, okay? So it's a little bit different. Class 3 machines are the ones that you typically see in like Las Vegas, New Jersey. The really big casinos are Class 3. These are your top dollars, your pinballs, your double diamonds, your Dragon Links, Lightning Links, Huff and Puff. All of those games are Class 3 games. But Class 2 is, again, the game of bingo in most instances, okay? And that's the way it is at WinStar. So what we're going to talk about here is you will see a lot of Class 2 games in Oklahoma, for example. A lot of tribal casinos will have Class 2 gaming because it's a little bit easier to obtain the license to run a Class 2 facility. It's cheaper, it's less you have to go through, all those types of things. And plus it's just cheaper to buy the machines because all they are really just things that represent a slot machine. But if you open up one of those machines, it's pretty empty inside because all you're doing is interfacing with the bingo server that's doing all the call outs of the numbers and such, okay? So try to think of it that way. And you also can associate Class 2 gaming with the bells. Everybody hates the bells going off. The way those bells work is that for every $10 that is won on a machine, it rings the bell once. So I don't know why they do it. I think it's mostly so you can hear other people winning. Again, it doesn't really make any difference. But, you know, that's just something that they do to kind of make it more exciting. But a lot of people think they're annoying. Personally, I don't even hear them anymore because we've been to WinStar so many times. So let me talk a little bit about volatility. Now, we talk about volatility. You've probably heard me talk about it on Cowboy Slots. We're talking about it here fairly often also. Volatility doesn't really exist inside of a bingo machine because it's not really a self-contained program. You're playing the game of bingo, so volatility can't really exist. But what can exist is the feeling of these machines acting like certain machines that are in the Class 3 variant. So one of the reasons, and the one that we're going to go through here, is a classic 3-reel machine that has the exact same pay table as a double diamond in a Class 3 machine. And it pretty much behaves the same way. The pay table's the same. The wins coming up are pretty much the same. You get a lot of mixed bars and cherries, that kind of thing. And so that's what's actually going on there, is that it's a very similar representation of a double diamond machine, which we know is low in volatility. So although we can't really say officially that bingo machines are low in volatility, if you do find the right ones to play, you can extend your bankroll a little bit longer. So just something to think out for. Now, when it comes to WinStar, the question that we get a lot is, where should we start? WinStar is so big. They have thousands and thousands of machines, almost a mile and a half worth of machines in that facility. And it can be very difficult to find where to start. Us on this channel, because we are gambling smart, we actually recommend that you start on some of these Class 2 bingo machines to build up your bankroll before you go play the big flashy ones like the Quick Hits and the Wheel of Fortunes and all those, which WinStar does have. But don't start there. Start at the Class 2 bingo style machines, and I'm going to explain why in just a second. All right, so one of the things, if you sit down on one of these machines, how do you know it's a Class 2 machine, right? Fair question. So a couple of ways. The first is if you look somewhere on the machine, either on the top or on the bet panel down below, if you see a bingo card And what does a bingo card look like? Let me go ahead and move this over. This is what a bingo card looks like on these machines. So if you see something like this, it can be really big like it is on this one, but it could be very small, especially if it's on the button panel. And so if you do see that, that is an indication that it is a Class 2 game and you're playing the game of bingo. There is one other spot that you need to look, and that is in the game rules themselves. So if you don't see the bingo card just present somewhere on the machine, if you go into the game rules and you cycle through the different pages, if you end up on a page that shows you a bunch of different patterns like you see here, then you know it's also a Class 2 machine. Okay, so that is the way that you can tell that you're playing a bingo machine, is to look for that actual bingo card. All right, so let's talk about what is actually going on here. And I'm going to try to do this very slowly because it is kind of complicated, but I'm going to do my best to explain it so you guys understand. And this is what makes this so exciting to us whenever we play these games, because if you learn how this is working, before the reels even start stopping, you have a kind of an idea on whether or not you're going to get a win or not. And it just adds a different level of excitement that you don't get in the Class 3 games. And now you'll see what I mean in a little bit. So let's first talk about what is going on here. So every time you press the spin button on one of these machines, you're going to see this bingo card change. All of the numbers are going to change on the card itself. You're going to notice that some are highlighted in yellow and some are highlighted in white. Okay, what does this actually mean? So the way that you actually win prizes on a bingo machine is if the yellow background numbers ends up forming a pattern, and we can see that on this example here. These are showing you the different patterns that are possible and what it equates to. So if you get the peace sign, for example, it pays 40 credits. If you get the bingo bunny, it pays 80 credits. Okay, so that's what's actually going on there. But the key is that it has to be a highlighted number in order for it to be eligible for a pattern. So for example, the peace sign and the bingo bunny, that is not going to be possible on this card that came up because those yellow highlighted numbers don't form that pattern. Okay, you with me so far? Okay, so you notice that this is going to be changing. Every time you spin, you're going to get a different set of numbers, and every time you're going to see different ones highlighted. Okay, so let's talk about what's going on down here. This is the actual bingo call out. So the important thing is that the only way for a pattern to exist up here is if the number down here is in yellow. Okay, white numbers are not eligible, even though if a white number comes up down here, it will turn it yellow up here. It's still not eligible, okay? And that's why sometimes you'll press the spin button and you'll see a full bingo card and you're like, wow, this is going to be a huge win, and then you don't get any matches. What actually happened there is that there's probably a lot of white numbers down here that matched, but because they're in white, they are not eligible numbers up here, okay? You still with me? I know it's getting a little complicated. So in order to form a pattern, what really needs to happen is that these yellow numbers down here have to match your numbers up here, and it has to form some kind of pattern. And if it does, if all of those requirements are met, then you get paid whatever that is. Okay, so the next level on top of that is the red screens. A lot of people call these machines red screens. What that means is that on a single spin, a single bingo card, you are getting multiple matches all at the same time, which is technically possible, right? Let's go back to that example where you just had the full bingo card, and let's say that you have a lot of yellow numbers that are matching patterns up here. You're going to get a lot of red spins, okay? So the way red spins typically work on these machines is that it will start with the cheapest one, or I mean the smallest paying one first, so like a cherry. That's why a lot of people think, oh, you have to get a cherry to get a red screen. It's not entirely true. It's just more likely to be a cherry or mixed bars or something to initiate the red spins because it starts with the lowest amount. And then each subsequent red spin after that is equal or greater than that previous amount. So that's why every single red spin you see the combinations get bigger and bigger and bigger. Now they don't all play like that, but in most scenarios that's the way they work, okay? And so again, please remember that even though the white numbers are yellow up here, they're not eligible, okay? That's the big thing to keep in mind, because we've seen a lot of people on YouTube saying, oh, you should wait until the bingo call-outs towards the end because you start to get really full, bingo cards up here with a lot of stuff appearing in yellow. And that's not necessarily true because the white numbers are not eligible for matching, okay? Now, here's the other thing to this. Whenever a bingo card or a bingo call out resets, okay, this is when all of the white numbers disappear and you just see one white number. Every time a bingo card or a bingo call out resets, you get a new set of yellow numbers, and those basically stay with you for the rest of the bingo call out and along with everybody else inside of the casino. But you're going to see the white numbers are the ones that are going to be climbing here, okay? So after a bingo call resets, none of the orange or the yellow numbers are going to be added to it. And why is that important? That's important to know that as the bingo card or the bingo call out is proceeding, it doesn't mean that you're going to get more and more eligible matches, okay? And I think that's where a lot of people get confused. So how do we know that something's about to happen? Like, we know that you've probably seen some of our videos where we're playing these types of games. You're like, oh, here comes a cherry, and then a cherry lands. Well, how do we know that? Well, the good indication to know that something is about to happen is to look for a lot of the common patterns, okay? And a lot of the common ones on the 3-reel games are the 4 corners, or the small diamond, which is inside here. It's like this one, this one, this one, and this one. So if you see all those in yellow, then there's a good indication you're going to get a small diamond, which I believe is mixed bars. If you get the big diamond, which is here, 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 and here, I think it's called the big diamond, don't quote me on that. But if you do get those, then that's the cherry, okay? So whenever you're spinning the button and you see this change and you see different numbers end up in yellow, it gives you a good indication that you might be getting a win. But remember, some of those matches might actually be white numbers, which means it's no longer eligible to hit anything. And so the trick to it, and this is really getting deep into it, is whenever you notice the bingo card down here or the bingo call out reset, which means all the white numbers disappear and it starts over from a new one, if on that spin you see a lot of pattern matches up here or you get a full card, then it's highly likely you're about to get a win, okay? It doesn't mean that your odds are changing. It's just you can visualize it a lot better because most of the numbers, except for one white number, are going to be highlighted up here, okay? I hope I'm making sense. It's kind of still a little bit confusing. But here's what I want you to do is that what we're going to do is point this out in our upcoming videos when we're at WinStar, so you can see what is actually going on. And we'll talk you through like how we are determining these things, and you will start to see it. Now, let's talk about benefits, what you can do to try to, see if there's a future outcome, predictability type thing. And unfortunately, there is no way to predict or increase your chances or odds at any given time during this whole process. There are a lot of superstitions. We've watched a lot of videos on YouTube where people think you should, cycle through your bet mounts before hitting the spin button, that somehow changes the bingo patterns. We've seen people cash out and cash back in, thinking that resets the bingo card. None of that stuff is going on. You got to think of this whole process as still like randomization. It's just a different way of doing it. So there's no way that you can get an upper hand on, pressing the button at a certain time or cashing in and out, cycling through your credit amounts or whatever the case is. None of that stuff can really happen. And so you should just play the game like you would any other slot machine and just hope for the best. But what is different and what makes people believe that there is something to it is that you see people start to call out, oh, here comes the hot dog, or here comes the small diamond, here comes the big diamond. It's because they see the potential here, but it's no guarantee unless they're all in yellow down here, okay? Now, this is a very simple example. This is a 3-reel machine, which are the ones that we typically play. But there are 5-reel machines. There are also the video style. This is like the hunting for Neptune's gold. But eventually, they pay out the same way. You're still playing bingo. It's just the way that they get there is a little bit different. You might get more pattern matching, that type of stuff. So anyway, I hope that made sense. This is what's going on those bingo class 2 machines. And you shouldn't be afraid to play them by any means, especially the 3-reel versions, the single pay line or the 5 lines, because they do play very similar to Double Diamond. And that's what we want, right? We want to start with those basic games to get a good understanding and good buildup of our bankroll and get a good understanding of how it pays out, so it's very consistent. And that's what we're always looking for, especially when you first get into the casino and you want to start building your bankroll up. You want to go to something that's very consistent and reliable, and that's what a low volatility game is. And so this is the next best thing. So if you are at WinStar, Choctaw Durant, or any other Oklahoma casino or any other casino, frankly, that has these Class 2 bingo machines, don't be afraid to play them. I think you'll find it a very enjoyable experience. All right, guys, I hope that helps. I am Mark from Gamble Smart, Gamble Safe, and we hope to see you at WinStar. By the way, we will be there, if you're watching this video before we head out there, we'll be there Tuesday, November 21st, pretty much the entire day. So we hope to see you. We will most likely be in the Roam non-smoking room, but stay subscribed to the channel. Turn on that bell for notifications because we will be posting on the community, and we will certainly be going live while we're there, and hope to see you guys there. All right, guys, wish you the best of luck out there. Take care, and remember, gamble smart, gamble safe. See you guys.